The Chicago skyline pressed against my apartment window, Michigan Avenue's neon a faint pulse in the winter dusk. I was Sophie Reynolds, 30, a news anchor at WCN-TV, my life a careful sketch, rented loft in the Loop, a 2012 Honda, ambitions too big for my paycheck. The newsroom was my arena, where I'd clawed my way up, a woman from Englewood proving herself in a world of tailored suits and loud voices. That morning, an email from HR cut through the quiet. Meeting, 10 a.m., urgent. My coffee grew cold, untouched, a knot forming in my gut. Michael Bradley's stare had lingered too long, my editor-in-chief, 47, all charisma on air, all menace behind closed doors. His mentorship lunches at the gauge, his hand grazing my shoulder, his texts about career growth at midnight. I deflected, kept my responses curt, but his eyes were a weight, heavier each day, like a storm gathering over Lake Michigan. I walked to WCN's glass tower, the wind off the lake biting my face, the city's hum a distant drone. In the HR office, Karen Voss sat stiff, her clipboard a shield, Michael beside her, his smile sharp as a blade. "Sophie, your performance has slipped," Karen said, eyes avoiding mine, her voice rehearsed. "Inaccuracies in your last segment on the city budget." My reports were bulletproof, fact-checked until my eyes burned. Michael leaned forward, his tie perfectly knotted, voice smooth. "We need team players, Sophie. You've been distant." My chest tightened, but my face stayed blank, a trick I'd learned in Englewood, where showing fear was a loss. This wasn't about work, it was personal. Last week, I'd turned down his private dinner at Alinea, my "I'm busy" too sharp, my smile too thin. Now, his eyes gleamed with victory, a predator savoring the kill. "We're terminating your contract," Karen said, sliding an NDA and severance papers across the table, her pen tapping like a metronome. "Sign, and you're free to move on." My breath stayed steady, my hands folded. "I'll need to review it," I said, my voice flat, a monotone honed from years of reading teleprompters. Michael's jaw twitched, a flicker of rage beneath his polish, his fingers drumming once on the table. I stood, badge confiscated at the door, the newsroom's chatter fading as I stepped into the elevator, the city swallowing me whole. Back in my loft, Lake Michigan's gray waves churned beyond the glass, mirroring the churn in my mind. I opened my phone, Michael's texts a glowing trail of his intent. "Let's meet, just us, to plan your next big story." I hadn't deleted them, a reflex I now thanked, each message a brick in the wall he'd built to trap me. The NDA sat on my kitchen counter, its pages crisp, a gag order to bury his sins and my voice. I walked to Millennium Park, the beans curved steel warping my reflection, a woman I barely knew, her eyes sharper, her jaw set like my mother's when she'd faced down landlords in Englewood. Michael's power was vast, his name a cornerstone in Chicago media, his face on billboards, his voice on every radio. But I'd grown up fighting, my mother's double shifts fueling my degree, my grit. He'd underestimated me, thought a firing would silence me, but I was already moving. I texted Elena Carter, a producer at CBS Chicago, my fingers steady, "Need a favor." "Big." Her reply was instant, a single word, "Name it." The lake's wind stung my cheeks, but my mind was clear, a plan forming like ice over the water. This wasn't just about me. Lisa Monroe, a colleague who'd quit WCN last year, had left pale and quiet, her desk cleared overnight after months under Michael's thumb. I'd ignored the signs, too focused on my own deadlines, my own survival. Now, her silence was a scream I couldn't unhear. I copied Michael's texts to a flash drive, the click of the save button a small defiance. The NDA was his shield, but I'd forged my own weapon, sharper, colder. Chicago's lights blinked through my window, my loft a war room, papers scattered like battle plans. I called David Walsh, a journalist friend with a knack for digging, look into Michael Bradley. Discreet. His "got it" was a thread to hold on to, a lifeline in the dark. I walked to Lake Michigan's edge, the city's skyline a grid of secrets, Michael's presence a ghost even here. His confidence was too smug, his move too swift, like he knew something I didn't. I wasn't just fighting a firing, I was unmasking a predator, and the truth felt like a storm I'd summon, one that would break over Chicago and leave nothing untouched. My loft was a prison, the Lake Michigan horizon flat and unyielding, its waves a dull rhythm against Chicago's shore. I was Sophie Reynolds, no longer WCN's anchor, my life stripped to essentials, a flash drive with Michael Bradley's texts, an unsigned NDA, and a growing sense of being watched. The city's winter chill seeped through my windows, the radiators hissed my only company. Lisa Monroe's name gnawed at me, her abrupt exit from WCN a year ago a loose thread I'd ignored, too buried in deadlines to notice her haunted eyes. I found her on LinkedIn, now at a small PR firm in Pilsen, her profile photo stiff, unsmiling. I emailed from a new account, my words careful, coffee? Need to talk about WCN. Her reply took hours, a single line, tomorrow, 3 p.m., La Katrina Cafe. The delay felt like fear, a weight that settled in my bones. I walked to the Chicago River, its water sluggish under the loop's bridges, the city's pulse a faint threat. My reflection in the river was a stranger's, eyes narrowed, mouth a hard line, not the polished anchor who'd smiled for the camera. Michael's firing wasn't just revenge, it was a message, a line drawn to keep me quiet. I called David Walsh, my voice low, the burner phone I'd bought cold in my hand. Anything on Bradley? He sighed, his voice crackling. Whispers, no proof. He's careful, Sophie. I hung up, the river's wind cutting through my coat, my thoughts a loop of Michael's texts, their subtle demands, meet me to discuss your future. At La Katrina Cafe, Pilsen's murals bright against the gray day, Lisa sat in a corner, thinner than I remembered, her fingers twisting a napkin. Sophie, why dig? She asked, her coffee untouched, her eyes scanning the door. I leaned in, my voice flat, a monotone that hid the storm inside. He fired me, Lisa. Same reason as you? She froze, her breath catching, then nodded, her voice a whisper. He wanted things. I said no, and he made it clear I'd pay. She slid her phone across, a voicemail from Michael, his voice smooth, venomous. Lisa, reconsider, or you're done here. My pulse stayed even, my face blank, but my mind locked onto it like a key turning. I copied the file to my flash drive, my hand steady, the cafe's hum fading to static. Lisa's eyes darted again, her voice barely audible. He's connected, Sophie. People who don't cross him stay safe. I nodded, pocketing the drive, leaving her in the cafe's dim light, the smell of espresso clinging to my coat. Back in my loft, I played the voicemail, Michael's voice a snake's hiss, each word a confession of his power. It was proof, but not enough to break him, not yet. I rummaged through a closet, finding an old recorder from my journalism school days, its weight a promise. A faint click stopped me, a tiny device under my desk, a red light blinking in the dusk. A bug. My breath caught, but I didn't touch it, my mind racing. Someone was listening, Michael, or someone he answered to. I grabbed my laptop and left, the loft's walls too close, the bug's light a warning. I walked to a Pilsen bar, its jukebox drowning the city's hum, the air thick with cigarette smoke and laughter. I texted Elena Carter from the burner, need a secure meet. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Her reply was quick, diner, Wabash. The bar's neon glowed, my thoughts a tangle of Lisa's fear, Michael's voice, the bug's relentless blink. I wasn't just collecting evidence, I was being hunted, my every move a risk. The Chicago River's lights flickered as I walked back, my steps measured, my coat pulled tight against the wind. Michael's reach was longer than I'd thought, his confidence a signal of something darker, something I'd have to face. I checked my loft's locks, the bug still blinking, a tiny eye in the dark. I wouldn't touch it, not yet. It was a chess game now, and I'd play it silent, my moves invisible. The city's skyline was a maze of secrets, and I'd navigate it, one careful step at a time, until Michael's world was ash. The diner on Wabash smelled of burnt coffee and grease, Chicago's dawn light pale through its smudged windows, the city waking in a haze of exhaust and frost. I was Sophie Reynolds, my life a fraying thread, the bug in my loft a pulse in my mind, its red light a constant reminder of Michael Bradley's eyes. I sat in a cracked vinyl booth, my burner phone cold against my palm, my laptop hidden in a backpack. Elena Carter slid in across from me, her CBS Chicago badge glinting, her face sharp with focus. "Sophie, what's this about?" she asked, her voice low, barely audible over the clatter of plates and the hiss of the grill. I pushed a USB drive across the table, Michael's texts and Lisa Monroe's voicemail inside, each file a shard of his guilt. "Bradley harassed me, fired me for saying no," I said, my voice flat, a monotone that masked the churn in my gut. "There's more, Elena. Other women." Her brow furrowed, but she nodded, pocketing the drive, her fingers brushing the table's sticky surface. "CBS could run it, but we need more, multiple victims, airtight proof," she said, her eyes scanning the diner, as if Michael's shadow could reach us here. I agreed, my coffee untouched, its steam curling like a ghost. The diner's noise was a fragile shield, but my neck prickled, a warning I couldn't shake. A man in a gray coat sat at the counter, his newspaper untouched, his glance too long, his narrow jaw and thin glasses etched in my mind. I memorized him, my face blank, my hands folded. "Tomorrow, I'll get more," I told Elena, standing, my backpack heavy. She grabbed my arm, her grip firm. "Sophie, Bradley's got friends, high up, maybe City Hall." I nodded, stepping into the loop streets, the city's pulse quickening with rush hour, horns and footsteps a chaotic rhythm. I took the L to Englewood, my old neighborhood, where the streets smelled of asphalt and memory, where no one would look for me. At a corner store, its shelves stocked with off-brand chips and soda, I bought another burner phone, paying cash, the clerk's eyes dull. I texted David Walsh, check Bradley's connections, media, political. His reply was curt, working on it. I walked to a community center, its paint peeling, the sound of kids practicing a play filtering through the walls. I sat in the back, my laptop open, searching for Tara Klein, another WCN alum who'd left suddenly, now in Milwaukee. Her LinkedIn showed a new job, but her old posts hinted at strain, late-night rants about toxic bosses. I emailed her, about Bradley. "Can we talk?" The center's hum faded, my thoughts on the man in the gray coat. On the L back, I saw him again, same coat, same glasses, 2 seats away, his newspaper folded too neatly. My pulse stayed calm, but I exited early, weaving through Millennium Park's crowds, the beans steel glinting under weak sunlight. He didn't follow, but his presence was a message, I was watched. My loft was a trap now, the bugs light a beacon. I checked into a cheap motel in Pilsen, cash only, the clerk chewing gum, uninterested. The room smelled of bleach, its walls stained, but it was safe. I opened my laptop, Tara's reply waiting, Milwaukee, 2 p.m., Lakefront Brewery. I booked a bus ticket, my hand steady, the city's skyline a faint glow through the motel's curtains. I played Lisa's voicemail again, Michael's voice a low threat, each word a brick in my case. Elena's warning about his friends echoed, a puzzle piece missing. This wasn't just harassment, it was a network, a machine I'd have to dismantle. I texted Elena, need CBS's resources. Airtime, maybe. Her possibly was cautious, a door half open. The motel's hum was oppressive, Chicago's lights a distant pulse. The man in the gray coat was a shadow I couldn't shake, a sign Michael's game was bigger than I'd thought. I lay on the stiff bed, eyes open, the city's rhythm a countdown. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for Lisa, Tara, the others buried in his silence. The L train's rumble faded, my resolve a quiet fire, burning steady. The Pilsen motel's fluorescent lights buzzed, Chicago's night pressing against the thin curtains, the city's winter breath seeping through cracked windows. I was Sophie Reynolds, a ghost in my own life, the bug in my loft a constant weight, its red light a silent accusation. My laptop glowed, Tara Klein's email a lifeline, Milwaukee, tomorrow, 2 p.m., Lakefront Brewery. I booked a bus ticket, cash, my movements a shadow, my burner phone my only tether. But I needed to know who was watching, who'd planted the bug. I used the burner to access WCN's internal server, an old login still active, a backdoor from my anchor days. Michael's emails were encrypted, but Victor Hayes's, a senior producer, always quick with a smile, were open. One message froze me: "She's digging, MB." What now? Sent yesterday, to Michael. Victor, who'd offered me coffee at WCN happy hours, who'd laughed at my bad puns, was his mole. My breath stayed even, but betrayal cut like glass, sharp and cold. I remembered Englewood, my mother's voice over the hum of our old radiator: "Trust is earned, Sophie, not given." She'd worked nights at a diner to pay for my college, her warnings my shield now. I screenshot Victor's email, saving it to a cloud drive, my hands calm, the motel's hum a dull pulse. Victor's betrayal meant no one at WCN was safe, my plan leaking like water through a cracked dam. I left the motel, walking to a 24-hour diner in the Loop, its neon sign flickering, the air thick with grease and late-night chatter. My laptop open, I dug into Victor's social media, finding photos with Michael at industry galas, their grins too tight, their hands clasped like conspirators. A memory surfaced: Victor at a WCN party, his hand on my elbow, his "You're going places, Sophie" too smooth. I'd ignored it, but now it clicked, a puzzle piece snapping into place. I emailed David Walsh, Victor Hayes. Dig deep. His reply was instant: "On it." Found a lead: Bradley's tied to a media fund, sketchy. I leaned back, the diner's clatter fading, my coffee cooling in its chipped mug. A media fund meant power, not just harassment, a network shielding Michael's moves. I texted Elena: "Victor's with Bradley. Plans compromised. Her meet tomorrow, 8 a.m. Riverwalk" was clipped, urgent. The diner's window showed my reflection, harder, carved by necessity, not the anchor who'd read the news with a smile. On the bus to Milwaukee, Lake Michigan's gray expanse stretched beside me, its waves a steady drone. Tara waited at the brewery, her ponytail tight, her eyes wary, scanning the crowd of tourists. "Sophie, why drag this up?" she asked, her beer untouched, her voice low. I showed her Lisa's voicemail, my tone flat, my hands folded. "Bradley did this to you too?" She nodded, sliding a USB across, her fingers trembling. "My exit interview. He threatened to blacklist me." I copied it, the brewery's chatter a distant hum, my mind on her words: "He's not alone, Sophie. Someone higher." I left her, the lake's wind sharp, Tara's warning await. Back in Pilsen, I played her recording, Michael's voice colder, precise: "Leave quietly, Tara, or you're done in this industry." Another piece, but "someone higher" was a shadow I couldn't grasp. I walked to the Chicago Riverwalk, meeting Elena under a bridge, the city's hum muffled by the water's flow. "CBS wants the story," she said, her coat pulled tight against the cold. "Live hit, risky, but possible." I nodded, the man in the gray coat from the diner a ghost in my thoughts. Victor's email meant Michael was steps ahead, my plan a house of cards. I saw my mother's face, her tired eyes after a shift, her "keep going, Sophie" my anchor. The river's current was steady, my resolve a mirror, unyielding. Michael thought he'd outplayed me, but I was rewriting the game, and his fall would be my script, written in truths he couldn't bury. The CBS Chicago studio was a labyrinth of cables and shadows, the air thick with the hum of monitors and the sharp tang of coffee. I was Sophie Reynolds, no longer WCN's anchor, but a blade sharpened by betrayal, my evidence: Michael Bradley's texts, Lisa Monroe's voicemail, Tara Klein's recording, tucked in a drive in my pocket. It was 6:50 p.m., 10 minutes to the live broadcast Elena Carter had fought for, a slot on CBS's evening news, my one chance to break Michael's world. The studio's lights burned my eyes, but my face stayed blank, my heart a steady beat, my voice ready to carve the truth into Chicago's airwaves. Elena adjusted my mic, her hands quick, her eyes fierce. "One shot, Sophie. Don't waver," she said, her voice cutting through the crew's chatter. I nodded, my hands folded, the drive's weight a vow. The plan was clear: go live, play the recordings, name Michael as a predator, let the city see his face unmasked. But Victor Hayes' email to Michael, "She's digging," lingered, a crack in my armor. I'd kept Victor's betrayal from Elena, my trust a currency I couldn't spend. The producer signaled 1 minute, his headset a crown of wires. I stood at the anchor desk, the teleprompter dark, my words, not CBS's, my truth, not their script. The red light blinked, and I spoke, my voice flat, a monotone honed by years of hiding fear. Tonight, a story of abuse at WCN-TV. Michael Bradley, editor-in-chief, harassed me and others, then fired me for saying no. I played Lisa's voicemail, the studio silent but for Michael's voice, smooth, threatening, reconsider, or you're done. Then Tara's recording, colder, a blade, leave quietly, or you're blacklisted. The texts flashed on screen, each one a confession, a noose. "This is why I lost my job," I said, eyes locked on the camera, Chicago's skyline a blur beyond the glass. Because I refused him. The control room was a tomb, Elena's nod my only guide. Then static, a screech, the screen black, the feed cut. My pulse didn't shift, but my mind screamed sabotage. "Victor." I signaled Elena, who hissed into her headset, "Fix it. Now." The feed flickered back, shaky, the crew scrambling. I leaned in, voice steady, "Bradley's not alone. His allies protect him, silence us." I didn't name Victor, not yet, the glitch a warning I couldn't ignore. The segment ended, the red light off, the studio erupting in whispers, phones buzzing. Elena pulled me aside, her face pale. "You did it, Sophie, but WCN's lawyers are circling. Threats already." I nodded, slipping out to the Chicago River, its water a black mirror under the city's lights. My burner buzzed, a text, unknown number, "You'll pay for this." Michael's tone, but no proof, a ghost in the machine. I walked to Pilsen, avoiding my motel, the city's neon too bright, its shadows too deep. The broadcast had aired, #WCN scandal trending, my face on every screen, but the glitch meant someone inside CBS was dirty, Victor's hand or worse. I texted David Walsh, "Check CBS staff. Someone's compromised." His "got it" was quick, a thread in the dark. In a Pilsen dive bar, the TV replayed my segment, Chicago's voices rising, anger and shock mixing like static. Michael's silence was deafening, a predator cornered, but the text, the glitch, Tara's, "someone higher," they pointed to a fight I hadn't won. I ordered a coffee, the bar's jukebox a dull pulse, my hands calm. The city's hum was a tide, pulling me deeper, but I'd swim. I wasn't just exposing Michael, I was cracking a system, one that thrived on silence and power. The river's wind followed me, my steps a quiet promise, my resolve a fire no one could douse. Michael thought he'd break me, but his fall was coming, and I'd be the one to push. Pilsen streets were a maze of neon and frost, the dive bar's hum fading as I stepped into Chicago's night, the unknown text, "You'll pay for this," a splinter in my mind. I was Sophie Reynolds, my broadcast a spark now ablaze, but Michael Bradley's reach was a shadow, his silence a storm waiting to break. My motel wasn't safe, the city's pulse a threat, its winter chill biting through my coat. I walked the Chicago River walk, my burner phone my only tether, the water's black flow a mirror to my thoughts. David Walsh texted, "CBS leak traced to Victor Hayes. He's feeding Bradley." My breath stayed even, but Victor's betrayal cut deeper, a colleague I'd trusted, his easy smiles at WCN a lie. I texted Elena Carter, "Victor's the mole. Lock him out." Her reply was sharp, "Done." But the damage was done, Michael knew my play, the glitch in the broadcast his countermove. I ducked into an alley off the loop, the city's lights dim, when headlights flashed, pinning me like a moth. A black SUV roared, 2 men leaping out, their faces masked, their steps heavy. I ran, my purse falling, the burner clattering on asphalt, my breath a steady rhythm despite the burn in my lungs. A hand grazed my arm, pain flaring, but I twisted free, sprinting toward Millennium Park, its paths a labyrinth. Sirens wailed, distant, and the men vanished, their engine a fading growl. I retrieved the phone, my hands steady, my mind clear, the alley's damp air sharp with adrenaline. Michael's desperation was physical now, his hired men a line he'd crossed. I checked into a new motel in Englewood, cash, the clerk's eyes vacant, the room's walls stained with years of neglect. My laptop showed an email from Michael, forwarded by David, a doctored photo of me, too close to him at a WCN event, his arm around me, my smile edited to look willing. The note read, "Retract your lies, or this goes viral." Blackmail, clumsy but dangerous, a lie to paint me as the predator. My face stayed blank, Englewood's ghosts, my mother's voice, her tired hands, grounding me. I forwarded it to Elena, "He's bluffing. Push harder." Her reply was quick, "Legal's nervous, but we're airing more tomorrow." I walked to a corner store, its fluorescent buzz a rhythm, the TV blaring, WCN anchor accused of ethics breach. Michael's photo, now public, his counterattack gaining traction, my name dragged through the city screens. My pulse didn't waver, but the stakes rose, a noose tightening. I called Lisa Monroe, "He's hitting back." "You in?" Her "yes" was firm, a crack in the silence. Tara Klein texted, unprompted, "Found another victim, Jenna Holt." Sending file. I opened it, a third recording, Jenna's voice trembling, Michael's unmistakable, "Comply, or you're nothing." 3 voices now, a chorus of truth. The store's hum was my anchor, Chicago's skyline a threat beyond the glass. Michael's blackmail was a trap, but his men meant he was scared, his control slipping. I emailed David, "Trace the SUV. Plate, ALX 472. His "on it" was my lifeline. The motel's bed was hard, but I lay still, eyes open, the city's hum a pulse I couldn't trust. The broadcast had cracked Michael's armor, but his counterattack was a wave, threatening to drown me. I wasn't just fighting a man, I was fighting his machine, one that thrived on lies and fear. The Chicago River's flow was my rhythm, steady, unyielding, its current a vow. Michael thought he'd bury me, but I'd bury him, his secrets falling with him, each one a weight I'd turn against him. Englewood's dawn was gray, the motel's hum my only companion, Chicago's winter air seeping through the room's thin walls. I was Sophie Reynolds, my name now tied to #WCN scandal, my broadcast a bomb still echoing across the city screens. Michael Bradley's fake photo, me, too close, a lie of an affair, had spread, painting me as the villain, but the recordings from Lisa Monroe, Tara Klein, and Jenna Holt were my shield, their voices a truth no one could erase. The city's skyline loomed as I walked to a Pilsen cafe, its murals bright against the frost, my burner phone buzzing in my pocket. David Walsh called, his voice low, SUVs from a security firm, linked to a media syndicate. Bradley's a piece, not the whole board. My voice stayed flat, a monotone honed by necessity. Names? He paused, the line crackling. Tribune execs, maybe higher. Be careful, Sophie. A syndicate meant Michael wasn't just a predator, he was a cog in a machine, protected by hands I couldn't yet see. I met Elena Carter at a loop dive bar, its jukebox droning, the air thick with smoke and regret. Her face was drawn, her CBS badge tucked away. "We're doubling down," she said, her coffee cooling. "Jenna's tape airs tonight, and we're naming the syndicate." I nodded, sliding her a drive with all 3 recordings and Michael's blackmail email, its fake photo a clumsy lie. "Show his desperation," I said, my hands folded, the bar's hum a faint shield. She agreed, her eyes fierce, a spark I trusted. I walked to Lake Michigan, its waves a steady drone, the city's lights reflecting like scattered stars. My phone lit up, an email from Victor Hayes, the mole, "Back off, Sophie, or you're done." My hands didn't shake, I forwarded it to David, my mind clear. The syndicate's shadow was long, but I'd cut through it, piece by piece. At CBS, the second broadcast aired, Jenna's voice trembling, Michael's threats a blade, "Comply, or you're nothing." The fake photo flashed, debunked by Elena's team, the syndicate named, a network of media titans shielding men like Michael. Social media roared, WCN stock crashed, and Michael's resignation hit the wires, a headline that felt like air after drowning. But the syndicate lingered, a ghost I couldn't touch. I moved to a friend's apartment in Pilsen, the city's pulse a faint threat, its streets alive with winter's bite. David texted, syndicate's panicking. You're a target now. I nodded to the empty room, my reflection in the window a stranger's, scarred, but whole, my mother's eyes staring back. The Chicago Riverwalk was my last walk, its lights soft, the water's flow a rhythm I'd carry. Lisa called, we're free, Sophie. Thank you. Her voice cracked, a weight lifted. Tara texted, you're a hero. I didn't smile, but their words settled deep, a warmth I hadn't felt in weeks. I started a blog, my voice now my own, exposing media corruption, each post a brick in a new foundation. David sent a list, syndicate names, leaked, a story I'd chase next. Englewood's lessons, my mother's strength, were my roots, unyielding. Michael was gone, his allies shaken, their empire cracked. I walked by Lake Michigan, Chicago's hum my rhythm, its skyline a map I'd rewritten. I wasn't their anchor, their victim, their lie. I was Sophie Reynolds, a woman rebuilt, not by anger, but by truth, a light no syndicate could dim.